of the YouTuberverses. So as you guys can see, not as you guys can see, but we're on our way to AutoZone. So let me explain what happened, right? Car no longer goes brr, as you guys can see from the title, right? But we were busy driving. We were about to go on a what do you call this thing? Charity run this morning for the pet shelter, right? While we were on our way to go and fetch Carmen, we were up the road from her and the car went pop, 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 and then it was done, right? So we pushed the car back to her place because it was literally around the corner, and now we're busy working on the car. So what we were looking at earlier is we checked the spark plugs, we checked for the fuel pump that was pushing, and after I sanded down one spark plug and checked the other, it seems like the plugs are shot. So let's see, we're here at AutoZone now, let's have a look and see if the spark plugs will actually fix it. Let's see if the car goes brr. The lights, something goes on. I didn't close the bonnet in the boot properly. Okay, so that did not work. Let's check fuel next then. So as you guys can see, we are currently being towed back to the house. Let's get back to the workshop and we'll try and figure out what it is. We had a look at the injectors. The resistance across the injectors look correct. We had a look at the spark plugs. The spark plugs are correct. The fuel pressure is reading correctly. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is the voltage to the injectors actually getting there at the right voltage. So we're going to check whether it is possibly a faulty ignition module or something of the sort like that. So yeah, that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so as you guys have seen, the SX shat the bed and is currently not working. What we're assuming it is right now is the ignition module. The problem is we can't test that right now because the battery is firstly taken out and put on charge, but we have something in South Africa called load shedding, which means we don't have power right now and it will come back when it comes back, right? So while we wait for the battery to charge, there's nothing really much we can do. So we went through, so let's start at the beginning, right? For those of you who don't know how to diagnose something when a car doesn't want to start, so the three things a car needs to start is fuel and air, spark and compression, right? So the first thing we checked is the fuel pump turning on, right? That's first place check, easy thing to do. Turn the ignition on, can you hear the fuel pump running, right? So we checked that out, that worked. Next we checked spark. We noticed that we didn't have proper spark. So what did we do? We went and I sanded down some of the spark plugs, and I sanded down the first one, put it back in. On the second one, while I was testing to see if there was spark, it actually started, the car actually started catching, so it started turning over. I cut the ignition, we went out and bought new spark plugs because we went, hey, look at that, just off one we already managed to get this. And I also noticed there was no spark on the second plug. So we went and got new plugs, we put those in, right? We then discovered that it still isn't starting. So we went and checked the fuel pressure at the end. So we just plugged in a fuel pressure regulator that we got from, or fuel pressure gauge that we got from Tyron. And we checked that we have 3 bob of pressure constantly. So we know the fuel's fine, or at least to the injectors the fuel is fine, or the fuel rail, sorry. and we know that there's new spark plugs, so out of those two, and the compression should be fine. The reason we're not worried about compression is because we checked the water and the oil. There's no milkshakes in either, which means we haven't blown a head gasket or anything like that, so there shouldn't be a reason for us to have lost compression at any point in time. It still sounds like there's compression, and while the spark plugs were out, every time it was going, I could feel the pressure building, right? It pops air out, obviously, through the top. So fuel was not coming out when we were swinging the motor, and the actual fuel pump was plugged in, which means that I believe that there's an issue with the actual fuel injectors. I then went and checked the resistance across the fuel injectors. I'll link a Chris Fix video to this. So I just checked the resistance across it, and the resistance is fine. So that means the fuel injectors themselves, they could be clogged, but they're fine, right? They're all within spec of one another. So next is going to be the ignition module, right? And to check that, we're going to check, okay, what kind of voltages are we getting to firstly the fuel injectors, and then after that we're going to check what voltage are we getting to the spark plugs themselves, right? If we find an issue there, then we just replace the what did I just call that thing? The ignition whatever that thing's called, the ignition system, right? So yeah, we'll replace that entire box. It's a little box that sits like this on the side of the engine. I'll show you guys that a little bit later when we get to that. But for right now, there's no electricity. This battery's gonna die. The car's battery's dead, and yeah, let's see how this goes. So that's what we're gonna call it for this week's episode. Unfortunately, we did not get her running just yet, but there is a car meet in about 3 days, and I kind of want to go to that one. So we're gonna see if in the next episode we can get her running and see if we can make it to the car meet or not. Yeah, let's just see how it goes. If you guys are enjoying this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment below, let us know what you guys want to see done to the car next. And yeah, as always, love you, Mr. Bye.